What's up, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today,
Yeah.
we're tackling a pretty interesting topic, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about this idea of mental illness being glorified.
Right.
And we've got two really cool sources that you sent in for this one. One's an academic paper,
Okay.
and the other one's a journal article.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm excited to jump in
Yeah, me too.
and kind of get to the bottom of this with you.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about this whole thing is we're seeing so much more openness around mental health these days.
Right.
And that's awesome, but are we taking it too far?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, we're going from
Alphamilia's great.
kind of sweeping it under the rug to
you're
making it like a badge of honor almost.
Yeah, almost trendy.
Yeah. And this paper really
Mm-hmm.
dives into this right away. It talks about this trend
Okay.
of people just casually throwing around these diagnoses.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Self-diagnosed.
self-diagnosing without,
Yeah.
actually talking to a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually use this example about their own brother
Oh, wow.
who insists that he has ADHD just because he
Yeah.
can't focus sometimes.
Right. Well, we all have trouble focusing sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's are we minimizing the struggles
Exactly.
of people who actually have these conditions?
Totally minimizing.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, is mental illness becoming romanticized?
Right.
Is it the new
The new cool thing.
the new cool thing?
I don't know. Have you ever seen that in your own life? Yeah.
I think maybe a little bit. I think it's
Okay.
definitely something to think about.
Totally.
And the paper actually talks about the media's role in all of this.
Okay. Interesting.
They mention shows 13 Reasons Why,
Right.
which they started conversations.
Yeah.
But maybe they also contributed to this romanticized view of it,
Right.
And then you have all these celebrities talking about their struggles.
Sure.
Which is great for destigmatizing it.
Yeah.
But also, maybe makes it seem like it's the thing to have.
Like a trend.
Yeah.
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 What do you think about that? The role of media in all of this.
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely shapes how we see things.
Right.
You know?
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When we see something over and over again.
Yeah.
In movies, on
Yeah.
TV shows, we start to believe it.
Right. Even if it's not the whole truth.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think with mental health, sometimes we're getting this simplified version.
Okay. Okay.
And it's just not. It's not that simple.
Right.
It's
Complex.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you've got social media.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Right. Which the paper argues creates these echo chambers where these ideas about mental illness get amplified.
Yeah.
And normalized.
Totally. And it's you just keep seeing the same opinions over and over again.
Right. And it makes you think oh, yeah, that must be true. Totally. And it's especially risky for people who are already struggling. They're looking for validation, but maybe not from the right places.
Yeah. So it's if increased awareness is leading to all this, misinformation,
Right.
where do we even go from here?
Exactly. And this is where that second source comes in.
Okay.
This journal article by Joan Busfield.
Okay. Joan Busfield.
She actually challenges this whole idea of a mental illness epidemic.
Whoa. Okay, so now we're getting into it.
I know, right?
So what's she saying?
Well, basically, she thinks that maybe our way of measuring mental illness is flawed.
Okay, so we might not actually be in the middle of this giant epidemic
Right.
that everyone's talking about.
It's not that there isn't a problem, but maybe we're not measuring it accurately.
Gotcha. So how are we measuring it wrong?
Well, she points out that a lot of these studies rely on self-reporting.
Okay.
People saying, oh, yeah, I feel this way, I feel that way. But people aren't always the best judges of their own mental health.
That's true.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
you can misinterpret your feelings.
Exactly.
There's cultural stuff going on.
Mhm. And sometimes you just want to, fit in with what everyone else is saying.
Right.
So it's really important to get a professional assessment.
Okay, so actually going to a therapist or
Yeah, a therapist, a
Go.
psychiatrist,
Okay,
someone
okay.
who can really give you an accurate diagnosis.
So it's are we actually experiencing a mental health crisis? Or are we just more aware of it now?
Right.
And more willing to talk about it?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay. Yeah.
We are definitely more aware, which is a good thing.
Right.
But that awareness can also lead to some unintended consequences.
Or the glorification thing.
Exactly. So it's like a balancing act.
Yeah. We need to be open and talk about it,
Yeah.
but also make sure we're getting the right information.
Right. And not just like
Yeah.
self-diagnosing based on a quiz we took online.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the big takeaway here is that mental health is complex.
Yeah. It's not black and white.
Nope. And we need to approach it with nuance.
Right.
And remember that professional assessment is so important.
Yeah. And this actually leads to a really interesting question.
Okay.
If self-reporting
Yeah.
isn't always accurate,
Yeah.
how do we actually measure the prevalence of mental illness?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
You know, and it has big implications
Yeah.
for public health policies,
Yeah.
for resource allocation. Like, where do we put the money? Where do we put the effort? If we don't even know
Yeah.
how big the problem is.
Right. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think?
I think it's fascinating. And I think it's a conversation that we need to keep having.
I agree. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. It's been real.
Always a pleasure.
And we'll catch you next time. Keep those brains working.
See ya. Bye.